What if I told you that the one thing you are always looking for is actually the reason you fail? I'm talking about inspiration, that powerful, exciting feeling when you start a new project, the rush of a great idea. You feel like you can do anything. You tell yourself, this time will be different. But what happens a week later, when the hard work begins and the excitement is gone? That powerful inspiration disappears, and you are left with another unfinished project, feeling like a failure. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You have just been using the wrong fuel. If you enjoy stories that make you think, don't forget to subscribe and join our community. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you a simple story about a young potter named Thomas and an old impossible challenge. This story holds the secret to a power inside you that is far more reliable than inspiration. It is a quiet force that does not fade, and it is the only thing that guarantees that you will finish what you start. Stay with me, because the lesson he learned might be the one you have been waiting for. Thomas was a potter. He worked in a small, dusty shop owned by an old master named Aris, a man who had been his father's best friend. The shop was filled with tiny tools, buckets of glaze, and the quiet, rhythmic sound of the potter's wheel. Thomas was talented, very talented. He understood how to shape the clay, how to make it bend to his will. His hands were magic. But Thomas was impatient. He was bored by the simple, everyday work of the shop, making 20 identical coffee mugs or a dozen simple bowls for the market. He felt this work was beneath him. In his mind, Thomas was an artist, an inventor. These ideas were his passion. He would work on them for hours, fueled by that rush of creative energy. But the moment he hit a difficult problem, a structure that wouldn't hold, a glaze that wouldn't look right, his excitement would vanish. He would get frustrated and push the project aside, waiting for a new, even more exciting idea to find him. Because of this, the shop was failing. One morning, the old master, Mr. Aris, called Thomas to the front of the shop. A wealthy-looking man was with him. "Thomas," Aris said, his voice quiet, "this gentleman has a commission. It is difficult." The wealthy man stepped forward. "I need 100 porcelain bowls," he said. "They must be as thin as an eggshell, and they must be perfectly, absolutely identical. I've asked a dozen master potters. They all say it is impossible." The man looked at Thomas. "Aris says you have the talent. I will pay you enough money to save this shop, if you can do it." A flash of excitement, of motivation shot through Thomas. This was not a boring order. This was a challenge, a legendary task that no one else could do. This was his chance to prove he was a genius. "I'll do it," Thomas said confidently. For the first week, Thomas was consumed. He worked with a fiery passion. He made 10 bowls. They were perfect. It was thrilling. But then the real work began. To make the 11th bowl, and the 12th, and the 13th. Each one had to be exactly the same. It was slow, it was tedious, it was profoundly boring. After the second week, Thomas's motivation was completely gone. He stared at the 10 perfect bowls, and then at the lump of wet clay on his wheel. He felt nothing but frustration. His mind started to wander back to his exciting artistic sculptures. "This is a waste of time," he thought. "I could be creating something brilliant." On the third try, his 20th bowl collapsed on the wheel. In a fit of anger, Thomas yelled and slammed his fist onto the workbench, knocking tools to the floor. "I quit!" he shouted to Mr. Aris, who was watching quietly from the corner. "This is work for a machine, not an artist. It's impossible." He decided he would leave the shop for good. That night, as he was packing his bag, Mr. Aris approached him. He wasn't angry. He was holding a small, old, leather-bound journal. "This was my apprentice log," he said simply. Thomas opened it, not knowing what he was looking for. He expected to read about passion, about art, about genius, but there was none of that. Instead, the pages were filled with simple, humble entries. Tuesday, centered 50 balls of clay. 12 were good. My shoulders ache. Wednesday, practice pulling walls for 4 hours, made 20 cylinders. 18 of them collapsed. The 19th was too thick. The 20th was okay. Thursday, spent all day mixing a new glaze. The color's wrong. It is too gray. I failed today. We'll try again tomorrow. Page after page, it was the same. A simple, honest record of the work, the slow, boring, and difficult work. At the end of the journal, Aris had written a single paragraph. An artist who works only when he is inspired will be an artist of many beginnings and no endings. The great pot does not become art because it is inspired. It becomes art because it is built correctly. It follows the rule, layer by layer. The work of a craftsman must be the same. You do not show up because you feel good. You show up. And in doing the work, you might, if you are lucky, begin to feel good. The words hit Thomas like a physical blow. He had been looking at his work all wrong. His master wasn't a genius because he was always inspired. He was a genius because he always showed up. The next morning, Thomas walked into the shop. He was a different man. He didn't wait for a feeling of excitement. He didn't look at his own sketches. He walked over to the potter's wheel, sat down, and centered a new ball of clay. He made a new rule for himself. He would make 5 bowls every morning, no matter what. The first few days were the hardest. His mind screamed at him to stop, to do something more interesting. One morning, he spent the entire 4 hours just trying to get the thickness of one bowl correct. The old Thomas would have quit, but the new Thomas just calmly set the failed bowl aside and said to himself, "I will try again tomorrow." Slowly, a change began to happen. As he worked, he started to find a new kind of satisfaction, a quiet pride. Not in a brilliant idea, but in a job well done. He began to see the beauty in the small things, the perfect curve of a rim, the identical thickness. After 3 more long weeks of steady, disciplined work, he finished. He lined up the 100th bowl next to the others. They were perfect. They were identical. The wealthy client returned. He walked among the tables, his eyes wide. He picked one up, then another. He could not speak. He just nodded and looked at Thomas with a new respect. Mr. Aris came and stood next to Thomas. He simply placed a hand on his shoulder. "You see, Thomas," he said softly, "you have not just made bowls, you have made a potter." What is the lesson for us? It is simple. First, motivation is the spark that starts the car, but discipline is the engine that drives it on the long journey. You need the spark, but without an engine, you will only make exciting noises and go nowhere. Second, learn to love the process, not just the prize. The real reward is not finishing the project. The real reward is becoming the kind of person who can finish the project. The pride from doing hard, boring work is deeper and more lasting than the excitement of a new idea. And finally, just show up, especially when you don't feel like it. When you are tired, when you are bored, that is when it counts the most. Don't worry about the whole staircase. Just focus on taking the next single step. Center one ball of clay, write one sentence, make one phone call. That is how great things are truly built, not by a flash of lightning, but by the steady, quiet, and unstoppable power of showing up, day after day after day. I hope you found value in this story. If you did, please give this video a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will meet again.